Hey, thanks for staying tuned. Well, the next conversation we'll have is talking about Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, which has for a long time continued to writhe from the pain of energy challenges, with all its state-owned refineries being non-operational for decades until 2024, when some real work went into resuscitating the Port Harcourt refineries. Of course, with promise of more to be revived, including that of Warri. Now, there has been that heavy reliance on imported refined petroleum products. Of course, with the state-run NNPCL being the major importer of the essential commodities, this has continued a strain on the naira. But after a while, the subsidy removal by President Tinubu, which jacked fuel prices from about 200 naira during President Buhari's tenure to over 1,000 naira came, respite gradually returned, no matter how little, and Nigerians could finally buy fuel for as low as 860 naira. However, the price has been fluctuating ever since, with stakeholders considering the variance is good for the naira and the oil sector. They believe it prevents illegal profiteering. Well, the hike seems to be back, a situation that is largely blamed on the collapse of the naira for crude arrangement between the NNPCL and Dangote refinery. Filling stations in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital city, have increased the price of a liter of petrol from 860 naira to about 930 naira, making consumers pay at least 70 naira more than what it used to cost them to buy a liter of the premium commodity days ago. Now, what is the concern down here in the Niger Delta is our concern. Are queues back, and will the Niger Delta region feel the hike stronger, as is usually the case? The conversation around how the cost of living is hugely tied to how affordable the products are is still on the table. And can this price competition be felt more on the downward trend? Because that apparently is what would make Nigerians happy, especially if it reflects on the day-to-day living and buying power. But currently, the hike in price is back, and we want to understand why and expose the devil in the detail. Dr. Wisdom Enang is an oil and gas expert. He joins us via Zoom. Dr. Enang, you're welcome on Niger Delta Today.
Thank you very much, Robert. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Do appreciate it.
All right, Dr. Wisdom, I think one of the questions that begs answers has been that why is it that whenever the Dangote refinery has an issue with the NNPCL, majority of petrol filling station outlets tend to tow towards that line, increase prices of petrol. Is it that the Port Harcourt refinery or the Warri refinery isn't meeting sales or distribution of petroleum products? Because there should at least be some stations which stick to the prices as they were. What's the situation like?
Oh, okay, you've asked two different things there, and I'll try to clarify as much as I can. The first is, let's even find out what is governing the pricing as it relates to Nigeria. One thing that has changed is not the fact that Dangote and the NNPC are disagreeing. What has changed is the fact that the crude for naira deal that made sure that if you like to say, the undulations part of the pricing of PMS refined in country was kind of under control, because you were going to buy in naira and resell, buy crude in naira, refine and resell the commodity in naira. However, what you've just seen, if you like to say, the addition of 100 naira margin from 860 to 960 in some places, in Lagos, for example, is really because of the fact that that is to cater for the fluctuations in exchange rates. So you really be refining with one exchange rate, and as you're getting to restock, you're seeing a different exchange rate. So that's pricing in those sort of fluctuations in the product, the exchange rates. Now, how does that cascade to the Nigerian, public? I mean, it means that we're going to spend more, obviously. So, as a matter of fact, it's not because of the disagreement between Dangote that the prices are going up. It's because the feedstock, which is a common, multiple for a lowest common multiple across all refineries, is now priced in dollar. That's essentially it. But to your argument, though, why are we not having the right price competition from the Port Harcourt and other government refineries? And the answer is very simple. I have said times without number that the case when you want to make a governing case equation, and you do an f of x, you check the function of that equation, you find out that the Dangote refinery has an 80% effect on a parameterization level on that equation. What that means is, if the Dangote simply sneezes, we'll catch cold and we'll start coughing everybody. So that's the situation we have. And so the competition of the government-owned refineries is not moderating prices enough, at least on a national scale. I've said it before that all that competition does is to help us in the south region to be able to meet our supply obligations without scarcity, and then give us some sort of comfort in pricing, but not enough to moderate it competitively. The other question that I think may be in your mind and you want to ask subsequently would be, what does this mean for us? I mean, there are imported variants. A few days ago, we heard that the landing cost of fuel for an imported variant that is not, benefiting from the previous crude for Naira deal, that is at 779 Naira per liter. So with the Dangote increasing the price such that we now buy at refueling stations at 960 Naira, what does that mean? It simply means that the NNPCL and the NMDPRA have one joker in the park. If we can allow the option of the distributors and the major marketers to be able to buy, whether it's imported or domestically produced variants, that means we could pretty much be getting for much cheaper, although we'll be getting more of imported fuel. But that's a decision for the lawmakers for the regulators to make, whether they want to preserve pricing or they want to preserve domestic, refining. And then there's another question that may be in your mind about, what are we not headed towards a monopoly? And that's a real concern, because if fuel is at about 779 Naira per liter on an imported variant that meets all the requirements but doesn't necessarily benefit from the crude for Naira deal, and then we have a domestically produced variant that is at 960, and that becomes our governing case, that means we may be headed for potentially sort of a monopoly. Because what I see happening is we want a free market system, willing buyer, willing seller. But willing buyer, willing seller also means I can buy from even an importer. So I think there's a lot of things that we need to do as a country to make sure we moderate prices in the interim. Otherwise, we get into a full-blown monopoly situation.
All right, Dr. Enang, just one for the road. Now, what's the devil in the detail in all of this, especially as it seems as though the Dangote refinery seems to be really interested in selling for the foreigners? Does this have a way of affecting what is happening internally in the oil market in Nigeria? And how can we get out of this maze?
Very much so. I mean, let me put two analogies in context. Imagine two pricing scenarios. Pricing scenario number one is I refine, I make some marginal level of profits, and sell it to the domestic markets. That's more from a socialist standpoint. A capitalist standpoint is going to be looking at opportunity cost pricing. Opportunity cost pricing is simply, okay, if I refine and sold in Ghana, I'll probably sell for over 1,000, maybe Naira or something. If I refine and sell in Nigeria, I would still sell for 870 Naira, 880, and I'll still be profitable. But since I already have the option of selling in Ghana, I'm not going to give out my quantity cheaper in Nigeria. I'm going to price it to consider the fact that, okay, subtracting all inconveniences, selling it at XYZ price to the Nigerian people will still be worth it. So that's what we call opportunity cost pricing. Pricing based on the opportunity that is out there that you could have gone out to get. And this is all what we are talking about when we are talking about monopoly. Let's look at things again from a more holistic standpoint. The Dangote is chasing the ban of import licenses in court, meaning that we're having a single blinded system where we cannot checkmate pricing, or at least use it to fight the prices that is being offered. So that's being chased in court. The NMDP are saying, look, this is a free market, let's run it like a free market. So the reality is Dangote was actually, built primarily for export. That's why he had a jetty. He knew that. Remember, I keep telling people, the Dangote refinery was built right at the time when there was still subsidy. The conversation of subsidy was still there. Now, what can we do to make sure that if the Dangote is going to sell in the Nigerian market, is going to do so not at the opportunity cost pricing, but at a competitive pricing, considering the fact that in Nigeria we have the population. So if you go to Ghana, you will have 1/10 of Nigeria's population, but at the same time you would sell more expensive, but you wouldn't make the sort of volume of money you would make from selling cheaper in the Nigerian population. So what can we do? Get the option of a real free market, whether it's imported or it's domestically produced variant. Eventually the market will find its fair equilibrium point of the right supply at the right price, and I think that's the best thing to do, because this is spiraling out into a monopoly.
All right, Dr. Wisdomena, we hope it doesn't get to that point where we'll be dealing with a monopoly situation in the country. Many thanks for sharing your thoughts on Niger Delta today. We hope to have this conversation with you on a later date. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wisdomena.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you,
God
sir.
bless you.